Hey Top Percenters, Razor Joey here. Today looking at two topics. First, the revealed cards from X and Y, and is Legendary Treasures going to be worth buying? So firstly, we've been shown 4 new cards from X and Y, those 4 cards being Venusaur, Blastoise, Yveltal, and Xerneas. And the more observant among you might notice that they're all X's. And aside from whether these cards themselves are good or not, they're still X's. And upon seeing more new X's, I have seen no positive feedback. It's either been people seeing them and thinking, new cards, or people, and I don't want to say hating, disliking the fact that the X mechanic is sticking around. As far as I'm aware, nobody's asking for X's. Dare I say it, I think more people would be happy to see the mechanic leave than have it continue. To back this up, here are some quotes. I'm not going to mention names for the sole reason that people are entitled to their privacy, so here we go. So much for X's not being a thing anymore. I'm way bored of basic X's. I was hoping they'd bring something fresh to the game. We were all hoping a mechanic called Mega Evolution would involve evolving. And that does lead me to a point. Our newest mechanic is Mega Evolution, and they've shown us that Blastoise X and Venusaur X do lead into something, but is it really enough for a potential Stage 3 to be presented as a Stage 1? I personally don't think it is. And you can feel free to disagree with me, but I much prefer the idea of having to invest into my main attacker and getting a big payoff instead of being handed my main attacker. I feel like I earned my setup through resource management and smart play. But really there's a bigger problem I can see with X's carrying forward into the XY block, and really it's one of 2 potential problems. The first problem, and the one I hope is the case, is that the X mechanic was too good and that there was no way that they could phase out without introducing something bigger and potentially more damaging to the game. Now I'm hoping this is the case because it means that we're only continuing with X's because it's healthier than trying to outdo them. And it means that as a company, Pokemon's trying to maintain the game and keep it as healthy as possible for players, which is much better than problem 2. And what's problem 2? One word: money. The Pokemon Company could just be continuing to make X's because of the raw profit they can make selling them. You want 4 X's? The best you can hope for is to buy 2 boxes and to hope that you get the X and its full art in both boxes. So right there, that's $180 because you need 4 cards to be competitive. And even if you buy singles, your retailer has to buy the boxes to get the singles. Now I'm hoping that this isn't the case, as it's the least healthy direction a company can go for the sake of its game. And it's observable right now. Konami and Bushiroad seem to focus less on selling their game and more on selling their new shiny card. Anyone familiar with Yu-Gi-Oh! Can see this with cards like Mecha Phantom Beast Draco Set. And Cardfight Vanguard went from being incredibly balanced to big numbers the game incredibly quickly. Now Konami do have their ban list, and they can use that enough to change the game and attempt to rebalance it, but that only works until the next big broken card is released. And I've seen more than a few people just leave Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of card prices or the format. Pokemon has never had this problem before, but if the future of the game shifts from selling the game to selling cards, then it could very easily see a decline in quality, following that, a decline in popularity. So I think you can see why I prefer problem 1. I'm really hoping that the heads of the Pokemon Company are making their decisions based on keeping the game healthy and fun when compared to using it to farm money. In the long run, option 1 is better for everyone. You can continue to make a profit from a healthy game long into the future, whereas once the game's knocked out, there's no payoff for anyone, be they a player or a seller. Now onto something less serious, but no less important. Legendary Treasures. And is it worth buying into? Now, for long-term and competitive players, I'd say the set is only really useful if you're interested in getting alternate arts for the cards you already own. But for players who just want to get started, or have started halfway into last season, this set could be a saving grace. Now, assuming that our set list will match Japan's, we will be receiving a reprint of Keldeo X, and Blastoise was reprinted as a part of Plasma Blast, our last set, so gaining access to the parts needed for Keldeo Blastoise should be pretty easy. The hardest card to get will be the good Black Kyurem X, seeing as every reprint of Black Kyurem X tends to be of its bad first print, a fact that still confuses me to this day. We also see the return of Reshiram and Emboar, so if anyone wants to try out Reshiram, you have the chance to. Personally, I don't think the metagame suits it just yet, but it could make a return in the future, depending on whether Blastoise leaves the format and whether grass variants such as Genesect stay. Another interesting note is that we'll be receiving 2 separate prints of Reshiram, as it also gets a fabulous new full art print in Radiant Collection, which means that Reshiram will have had 8 reprints in total. Treasures also sees a reprint of both Darkrai and Garbodor, the latest big deck on the scene, and both key cards being printed in the same reprint set makes it so that newer players can try to gain access to the deck, or at least get cards at lower prices now. And also alongside Darkrai we have the Dark Trance Hydreigon, meaning that by buying into one set, you can get some of the set pieces for 2 different Darkrai variants. And finally, the 3 Musketeers all receive reprints. All 3 have seen their own share of popularity, and I think that each of them could have potential to make a comeback, depending on what gets released in the XY block. And that's pretty much everything. Sorry for being so serious at the beginning there. Here's a picture of a cat that looks like Pikachu to cheer you guys up. What do you guys think about the continuation of X's? And what are your opinions about legendary treasures? As always, let me know down below. And until next time, I've been Writer Joey. You guys are the top percent. Peace!